Welcome to the show. Tonight we have big laughs, interviews, games, and what more. Here on Chilling3000 Hangouts with their host, David 3000. Hello everyone, thank you. Welcome everyone to the next episode of Chilling3000 Hangouts. How is everybody on this Friday? That is good. Tonight on this episode, we are going to be interviewing David Narz, who is the son of the great game show host Jack Narz, and we'll be talking about not only Jack Narz from David's personal side of things with him, but we'll also be talking about his historic game show family. So we'll be getting into that in the show and many other great game shows and other stuff as well in this great interview. So enjoy this episode of Chilling3000 Hangouts. I will get to the interview right now. Alright everybody, in this interview segment I'm here with David Narz. How are you doing, David?
Hi.
Glad to have you on here, and today we'll be asking questions to him about game shows and his family history and other interests as well. So we'll get to that right now. Starting with this first question, what was your childhood like?
Well, I was the last of four kids. I'm the youngest. My older brother was named after my father, and my father was named after my grandfather. So there were John Lawrence Narz Sr., John Lawrence Narz Jr., and then John Lawrence Narz III. Of course, my father changed his name from John to Jack, and it went by Jack Narz. My earliest remembrance is actually, I think, New York. Even though I was born in California, my father at the time when I was born was still doing, live commercials announcing. I think he was working with Betty White on Life with Elizabeth. He was working at the Bob Crosby Show as the announcer and doing Space Patrol on Saturday mornings. And he made the jump to become a game show MC. And his first job took us to New York, where he did the game show Dotto, Dotto. And so my earliest remembrance really is New York. I remember the summers in New York going. My father was an avid golf player, so he joined a country club. I think it was called Bonnie Briar Country Club. And of course, they had a pool, and all the families would go swim in the pool while the fathers were all playing golf. And then, of course, the winters were tobogganing on the golf course. There was hills on the golf course, so we'd all toboggan.
Has Jack ever got a hole-in-one?
I think he did eventually, as everybody does. I do have one of his golf scorecards when he played the Tamarisk Country Club out in the desert, and he got his first birdie, and he circled it and kept that golf card, and I've got it in my boxes of memorabilia.
Very cool. Has he gone to like any golf tournaments, like the Masters or anything?
He did a lot of celebrity golf tournaments. Even when we, in 2001, when I moved back to the Coachella Valley, Dennis James, who was also, one of the first game show hosts and started one of the first telethons for United Cerebral Palsy. He started a telethon way before Jerry Lewis. Yeah. And Dennis James retired in the Coachella Valley, and he started a local United Cerebral Palsy. It was called the Dennis James United Cerebral Palsy Center in Cathedral City. He started a golf tournament when he retired there in 1995. I think it was a couple of years before he passed away. Okay. And he had all the the regular celebrities that he knew, and they would raise funds for the. Again, it was a local branch for United Cerebral Palsy. There's a national, and then there's locals, and then there's even local. I was actually the chairman of the board from about 2007 or 2008 until I moved away. and my vice chair was Mickey James, who was Dennis James' widow. Randy James and Brad James were both board members and still are, I believe, even though it's no longer the Dennis James Center, it's UCP. And Mickey James, who is, I think, 97 years old now, is no longer affiliated, but the name is still there. And anyway,
yeah.
Dad was in the Hollywood Hackers, which were all these actors that played in golf tournaments. But he always played. He played consistently. He was a member at a couple of, Lakeside, I think, and then eventually Riviera Club. But that's what those guys do. They work 3 days a week, and then they golf the rest of the day. So,
very cool. And
yeah,
and for those who are real Game Show fans, Dennis James hosted the nighttime prices, right?
Yeah. It's funny. I think I've mentioned this before. So my dad is Jack Narz. His brother, Jim Narz, my Uncle Jim, he was always my Uncle Jim, went by Tom Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Kennedy also did a nighttime version of The Price is Right.
That's right.
My Uncle Bill Cullen, my mom's sister's husband, so he's an uncle by marriage, did the original Price is Right. And back then, that was live when Don Pardo was the announcer and Bob Stewart was the producer. And if my Uncle Bill wanted to go on vacation, he had to get substitutes to fill in because it was live. And my dad did a month of The Price is Right. I think back in either 58 or 59 or something like that. I have 3 episodes of it. So all of my family has hosted The Price is Right. And I actually worked on the nighttime version with my Uncle Jim, Tom Kennedy, when he did the nighttime version.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you got to see the new Price is Right set?
I've watched it with Drew. I've actually gone to the studio and was introduced to him. We never really shook hands. He knew I was there. He knew that I was a relative of the original and everybody else. He had a very busy schedule, but at the end of the show, when he comes out and waves to everybody, he came out to the edge of and kind of pointed at me and then waved at me and then took off. But I was there with my brother and Adam Neediff. It was, and again, Studio 33, where they tape, that's the studio where I worked with Monty Hall when he did his version of Beat the Clock.
I can tell you from my experience on the new Price is Right set, it's very smaller than you think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Even and David, you've seen the newest one. Imagine the set they had before that was even bigger than that. Although of course, everyone said it looks small. It looks a way bigger on television.
Studio 33, because the audience was sunk in, had more stage availability. There were only, there was stage 33 and stage 31, and then 44 and 41, I think, or something like that. But stage 33 was used for Carol Burnett, the Bob Crosby Show, Beat the Clock, The Price is Right. I have not seen or gone to the studio since they moved to Glendale. I know that they had issues there because the parking lot, as you know, they tape a few shows. So they have an audience come in and they'll stay for 2 shows, but then they get a different audience for the 3rd show if they're taping. And the parking is so limited that there's a church across the street and they've been allowed to use their parking, but it now limits them that they can't tape on Sunday because obviously on Sunday, the church needs to use their parking lot. So they can only tape on days when the church isn't using their parking lot. And I also heard that when it rains, it just floods the whole parking lot. I mean, it's in a low-lying area in Glendale, and they've had real issues with The Price is Right, and they also do Let's Make a Deal there.
Yeah, Let's Make a Deal. I actually been to that Let's Make a Deal area on my tour. I've seen that area.
Yeah, train tracks and the gentleman's club around the corner, and the railroad tracks go through it. It's not the best area. I'm really surprised, but I mean, CBS was remodeling they just named it the Bob Barker Studio too, it seemed like, and then they sold it.
Yep. Kenny?
Bob Barker,
yeah.
We love Bob Barker. Okay. Next question is, what was, I think this is a question you'll know best. What was your father, Jack Narz, like personally? And what was it like growing up in his shadow?
Well, you know, he would never say we grew up in his shadow. That's only something that people would say, you grew up in your father's shadow. My dad was very personable. We took many father-son trips. He had a little house in Palm Springs, actually Indian Wells, and one in Rancho Mirage. And there were times that he would just take me and we'd go down there, and you know, I'd sit in the golf cart while he played golf if I wasn't golfing at the time. I worked with him on a couple of shows. Like I said, on Beat the Clock, he was the executive producer and the announcer. We did a pilot called The Dream Thing, and I was on staff there and worked with him there. But it was, and again, growing up in the late 50s, early 60s, it seems celebrities, if you want to call a game show host a celebrity, most people would think movie stars were celebrities and game show hosts were just friends.
Nah.
But you know, birthday dinners, you know, my dad would take me out, you know, by myself to a dinner, and people would see that we were eating and not bother, but they say, hey, after dinner, can we come up and talk or get an autograph or something like that? It was very easygoing. One of the biggest birthdays I remember was, again, I can't remember the year, but there was a movie that just came out. I think it was called X-15. It was about the first ship that was brought up into space on the wing of an aircraft and then dropped, and it was like one of the first jets that would break like the sound barrier or something like that. And Ken Tobey was the star in it. Ken Tobey was the original in the movie It or The Thing. Yeah. You know, in the original black and white movie, Ken Tobey was the pilot that landed and found Desi Arnaz was the monster or something like that. But we went and saw this movie, and then we went to his his financial guy, Arthur Gage. We went to his house, and there was Ken Tobey, who we just saw in the movie, and another friend of his. I got his picture on the wall here, Warren Stevens, who was also a character actor, and they were at the bar at his manager's house, and I came in, and it was fun. You just saw the movie, and then you see the star of the movie.
That's great.
So he would do those kind of. He was a cool guy, and again in the mid 70s when he was doing concentration at Metro Media, that's when I was actually going to radio school in 75, 76, Don Martin School.
Yeah, you told me you've done radio.
And so I'd go and watch him tape all the time at Metro Media. He'd do 6 shows on Wednesday, 6 on Thursday, 6 on Friday, and that would, you know, take care of. They did a lot of heavy film, but that's where, you know, Johnny and Olson and I would kid around. Ira Sketch was the director. Adrienne Barbeau, who was in Maude at the time, was dating the guy that was doing sound on Concentration. So she would show up all the time, and I would walk over and see other shows being taped. They used to rehearse and tape. The one with Adrienne. I'm sorry, One Day at a Time. They taped there. Okay. Crosswits they did there. Jeff Edwards did game shows there, and I'd go all the different studios and goof around. It was a lot of fun, but I didn't grow up in his shadow. I grew up alongside him. I think he always. I did other things in my life, and he respected that. He would get a house in Las Vegas because his sister lived there, so he would have a second home there. And I lived in Las Vegas for a while. I'd take care of his mail there and stuff like that. When he came out, we'd golf. And then when I was back in the Coachella Valley, I loved going out there to golf. So he'd stay at my house and golf there. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Jeff Edwards as well was a great game show host.
Yeah. And I'm sure you told me about Wink, and I was on a Zoom call with Wink maybe a year ago or something. Adam Needif did it. Okay. And I reminded him, and I think he actually remembered, when I was going to radio school in 75 or 76, we did an outing to KMPC, which was, one of the big radio stations in Los Angeles. Gary Owens worked there, Jeff Edwards worked there, Wink Martindale worked there, Bob, all the people that, from KHJ to KRLA to KFWB all worked like KMPC too. And I met him there. Of course, I was much younger. But I think he remembered it. And again, I think I sent you the little clip about when Wink Martindale did a TV special, and he's interviewing my uncle and my cousin on the tennis court. And
I don't remember. I don't think I even seen that clip.
It was Yeah, maybe I'll send it to you. I think I've got.
Yeah, you can send me after the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I would say this about Link. If any game show needed a game show host, he was the perfect fit for it.
He was, but and again, I think having listened to some interviews, his first love was radio, and I think he really loved radio. There's a YouTube video out there. He had a song that he sang also, and he was like on a show, and he's like, because he knew Elvis Presley, and he kind of grew up with that Elvis Presley kind of thing. So there's a video out here of singing a song that was.
This was his
radio.
Sorry to interrupt, but sorry, continue on. I will show you after. My bad.
Yeah.
But he ended his life with radio too. He was on a radio station Saturday mornings, I remember.
Yeah.
He played music, very old music from his time, and the station is there we go, 1330 WHGM Gold. That was his last station.
Yeah.
So my next question is, what was Jack Narz's brother Tom Kenny like personally as well?
So Tom was 5 years younger than my father, and then they have a sister that was 5 years younger than Tom. She just passed away about a year ago, so I have no more aunts and uncles. But
sorry.
Yeah, the things I remember most about Uncle Jim. So we lived in Encino, and Uncle Jim and Aunt Betty lived in Northridge, so not too far apart from each other. My cousins, Linda was the oldest one, who was just a little younger than my sister, and then James Jr. Again, we called him Skippy. Yep. So not to be confused with Jim Sr., who, when he changed his name to Tom Kennedy, he went back to Jim Jr. or Jim, is just a little younger than I am. And then they had Julie, and then way later had a daughter, Courtney. So we grew up, playing, we had holidays together, we'd see each other. Skip would stay at my house, I'd stay at his house. So we had we were a close family. Of course, my aunt, their sister, Jack and Jim's sister, Lovey, lived in Las Vegas. So once in a while, we would do week trips to Las Vegas. All the cousins would get together. They had just as many kids, Jim had 4 kids. Jack, my father, had 4 kids. My aunt had 3 kids. And we were all, start from here and go down to here, but we all played well together. We swam, we played, we did lots of games. It was a lot of fun growing up. We were very close. We were a very close-knit family for sure.
Same with Bill Cullen as well.
Well, Bill Cullen and Ann didn't have any kids, and they lived in New York up until, I want to say, the mid 70s or late 70s, when Uncle Bill finally moved to California. But they were up off of Mulholland. By then we were in Huntington Beach, and so it was an hour drive. After Bill passed away, my aunt did move down to Newport Beach, which is closer. I'm in South Orange County. Her house was about 20 minutes from my house, and that's where she eventually passed away in 2018. But we would, because I moved here in Orange County, back to Orange County in 2017. Or 2016. And again, we got together quite a bit, my brother and myself and my Aunt Ann. And I'm sure they talked about it a lot. She had a monthly poker game with Bob Stewart and Betty White and some other people. Bob Stewart's son, Sandy Stewart, and his wife.
Oh, yeah.
And other people. They would rotate in and out, but they had a monthly poker game. Sometimes they would drive up to Betty White's house, sometimes to Bob Stewart's house, but most of the time they'd come down to my aunt's house because she lived on it's called what's it called? Oh my gosh, Irvine Terrace, and it overlooks Lido Island and Newport Bay and just the ocean. It's got beautiful views, and It was just fabulous, with all glass in the back, so you can just look out onto the ocean and stuff. It was really, really nice.
Very cool. Danny?
Before I get to my next questions, how did he decide on choosing the name Tom Kennedy? Was it just a random decision?
No. So my dad and my uncle had the same agents at the time, and I keep saying the story the way I remember it. Back in those days, game shows were generally presented by a sponsor. Chevrolet presents, Tic-Tac-Toe. Colgate presents Dotto. So what happened is my uncle, although he used his name Jim Narz on a couple of shows, eventually what happened is my dad was doing commercials, I think, for Chevrolet or Ford. And my uncle Jim was doing the Cavalcade of Stars, and it was brought by Chrysler Pontiac. And what was happening is there was friction. They couldn't have this Narz say Ford's the best, and this Narz say, no, Pontiac's the best.
Right.
So they thought it best that one of them changed their name. Since my dad was in the business first, they decided that Jim would change his name. And the short story is he had lunch at the Brown Derby with his agent. At the time, as you probably have heard in your history books, but I was around, Jack Kennedy was a senator who was becoming more popular. So they thought the name Kennedy would be a good name. And then they said Jim Kennedy, and they said, well, no, that's too close to Jack Kennedy. We don't want you to be confused with Jack Kennedy by staying with Jim Kennedy. And then they said something like, how about Kip Kennedy or something like that? And my uncle says, that sounds like a movie star. I don't want to be perceived as a movie star. So they ended up with Tom. So as the story goes, he walked into the Brown Derby, Jim Narz, and he came out Tom Kennedy.
Very nice.
Yeah. And from that point on, he went by Tom Kennedy. Eventually, I think he legally actually changed his name to Tom Kennedy. Although for the longest time, it was Tom Kennedy, a.k.a. Jim Narz. What do you got there?
Oh, it's Be Real. It's a good app. Just like, I'll tell you more about it later.
That's funny. One more piece of trivia I'll drop. Mr. Narz probably knows this. I'm not sure if David on my left here knows this, but Gene Rayburn's real name was Eugene Rubessa, and he didn't want that name. It was too foreign or whatever. So how he decided on the name Rayburn was he just picked up a phone book and picked the name at random and put his finger there, and he's like, that's my new last name, Rayburn, Gene Rayburn.
Wow. I've got a letter from, again, I'll turn my thing. So those boxes back there are filled with like this bottom one is Jim, Tom. The one over there is Bill and Ann. The one up there is Dad and Mom. So it's filled with photos, contracts, stuff like that. I'm trying to write a book on the, not trying necessarily to do historical things on the game shows, but what it was like being related to 3 game show hosts, which in the late 50s and 60s to early 70s dominated game shows, or even at one time they were all on the different networks. One would be on CBS, one would be on ABC, one would be on ABC, NBC, and CBS. And back then that was big. So you couldn't back then not turn on your TV at a certain time and not see one of my relatives. No. I don't know if you guys get buzzer TV.
Yes, yeah, we do.
So right now, at least here in California, but I think it starts at midnight. They're showing To Tell the Truth, which has Bill Cullen on the panel. It's followed by 2 episodes of Body Language, which is my Uncle Tom Kennedy.
Yeah.
Which is followed by Blockbusters, which is my Uncle Bill, which is followed by Concentration, the one that my dad did. It's like my whole family's on buzzer from midnight till 4 in the morning. Mm-hmm. Here it's 10 o'clock till 1 o'clock or 10 o'clock because of the time difference.
Oh yeah.
But it's just like they still, and that's what it was like back then.
Yes.
They all had different shows on, not necessarily these shows, but it was not uncommon to have flip the dial and not see one of my relatives on TV or a panel show or something. It was kind of fun growing up that way. I mean, I didn't understand it as maybe you guys do it. I just figured everybody was in the business. They were either in front of the camera, behind the camera, or producers, or set designers, or painters, or anything like that. I didn't realize that they were any more special than the person that wrote or did the artwork or something like that. And I don't think Bill or Jim or my dad thought themselves any better than the people that produced the show, got the lights lit, got the sets done. I mean, they were very appreciative of everybody around them. I don't get that necessarily too much now. It seems like it's all about the MC, but you can tell when people are very appreciative that they were lucky. Now, they may also, because they were in front of the camera, they may be out of a job for a while, and those other people that do the sets and lighting are doing it for whoever's next, or they're all still doing it. But they were very appreciative of the people that made them look and sound good and produced a good commodity that people watched.
All right. Now the real question was, back in the mid-2000s, they had an event where a lot of game show fans could congregate and meet up to. It was called the Game Show Congress. And, you were a part of that, weren't you?
I went to the one in 2002, I think. So it was and again, that was Beverly and those guys put it on. The one I went to was when they honored Bob Barker. So Bob Barker was there.
Oh, wow.
They gave him the Bill Cullen Award, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And my uncle and my father were there to talk about the Bill Cullen Achievement Award, because my Aunt Ann was accepting on behalf of her husband Bill that they were going to name this trophy, and so they were both there to give their accolades about my Aunt Ann. So we were there, as many of us who could be there were there. I think Jim and Betty, I have a photo. I think Jim and Betty were there. My dad, my mom, my older brothers, my sister. I think all my cousins were there. Jim's kids were there. I think we were all there in 2002. And then I may have gone to another one when they gave my dad and my uncle and Monty Hall got the Bill Cullen Award, and my dad and my uncle I've got the awards here somewhere because, well, my uncle's, I think. No. The little lacquer play. So that had the year on. I went to a couple of them. And then last summer, there was a thing called the Game Show Expo in Burbank.
Yes. I
went to that, just kind of sat with Adam and got all my game show jackets that I put on display and had photos that people didn't have of people and stuff like that. So.
I really would have liked to have been there last year, but it didn't work out. But it looked like fun from what I saw.
The expo?
Yeah, the quiz show expo that happened last year, yeah.
As Adam said, it was kind of thrown together really quick, so it probably didn't have a big a turnout as you would like. But if they try to do it again, maybe they'll get more. I mean, there were a lot of people there, but not people just coming that heard about it, I guess, or something like that. It was more like a selected few that were there. Although I did get to reminisce with Bob Hilton. Bob Hilton was the announcer on Blockbusters for my uncle, and I'd worked on that show a couple of times. So I went up to Bob and said, "Hey, dude, I worked with you before on Blockbusters." That was done at NBC, and we took a picture together and stuff like that. Of course, we were both 50 years older, so it was a little different. And then some other people. Jamie Farr was there, who I worked with him when he was emceeing.
Yeah. Bob Eubanks, right?
Eubanks was there, and I'd worked at KTLA and did not warm up, but stand in for camera blocking and stuff. So I played Bob Eubanks and questioned married people as kind of an audition. I would play the host and ask the questions and like I was Bob Eubanks to see if they were potentially good for the show. It's like auditioning people. So I would do that. And then I did a lot of camera blocking with Kay Henley, who worked for Goodson Todman as well. So whenever they brought the stage together for a game show at either NBC, ABC, or CBS or anywhere else, they bring all the props in, and then they bring all the camera guys and lighting guys, and they stage the show as if it's going to be there, taped. So instead of wasting the time with the host, they would put me as Bob Barker, let's say, in The Price is Right, and then they would have other actors come in and play the hosts or the contestants, so the camera people and the lighting people can practice, and then when they were all done and ready, then they'd have the real people come, fill the audience up with people, pick people out of the audience. Bob Barker would be there, and they'd be able to hit it out. Yeah, I like that. I'm not Tom Kennedy. And my Uncle Tom had when I am not Wink Martindale.
Wow. That's what that Jack looked like.
That's funny.
That's Dad with gray hair before he went away, and those other ones, I think one of them was Top Dollar and 17 Keys or something like that.
I'm looking at images.
There you go. June Lockhart.
Now you see it.
Yeah, now you see it. And there, you don't say it was my uncle. They switched spots on that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they put there's his album. Jack Narz sings the hits. That's when they exchange places on Password Plus. Mm-hmm. My dad. There's up on top. That was the other show, the Top Dollar. So when Dotto got canceled, they gave him Top Dollar, and he did that. And then we moved back to California, and then he went back to do Video Village.
Yeah.
But
Tell us about the plaques behind you on the wall.
So let's see what we got. Let me actually get a flashlight. So the top one is the Jack Narz. I don't know if you can see that. 7 Keys.
I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's when that was a KTLA. The one right below it is when my dad did an advertisement for a beer called Regal Pale. And that's like a billboard that they were going to put on the side of the highway. Other stuff. There's that's a character picture of my Uncle Bill done by Xavier Cugat. Above it are there 3 8x10s. There's my dad and Tom Kennedy in the middle and Bill on the other side. Over there, that orange piece is from Split Second. That's from the stage. The old Split Second when my uncle did that. I forget what else is up there. There's some games up there. I've got the Oscar in the other room. Up there, there's an autograph from $1,000 Name That Tune. All the people that were on the show. If I turn it around, I gotta disconnect my hard drives. Hold on a second. Let me turn them off. In
the meantime, this interview is brought to you by Geico. I wonder what's better, Geico or Aflac?
Yeah, well, they're two different categories, really. Geico is for cars, and Aflac helps you when you're sick and miss work.
Right.
I miss those old Geico commercials from the 2000s.
Yeah, I can unplug that now. So the other things I have are on the other side of me. So
okay.
In here, let me get you back in. So let me take my laptop, turn it around. So there's a Rubus from Concentration.
Oh, wow.
It's Happy Birthday, Jack.
All right.
So they fooled him. That was the Fast Money one. They opened it up, and they didn't tell my dad that was there. But that was it. These are pictures of Gary Owens up there.
All right.
My dad with Jerry Lewis. That's me. That's when Jamie Farr gave me a picture of himself when I worked on the show with him. Soupy Sales, who I don't know if you remember.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
Down here, this is Henry Winkler and Kay Linz, who was an actress. Lance Burden, who was a magician. When we lived in Las Vegas, we went and saw him on the show, and we were right in the front row. And he was from Louisville, Kentucky, as was my dad and my uncle. So there was that connection. Over here, we have the gals on The Price is Right when I worked on it with my uncle. There's Holly, Janice, and Diane. This is Betty White.
Betty White.
This, of course, is Jean Wood. was an announcer.
Oh, yes.
And he actually says, to Dave, with love from Dave's real father, sincerely, Gene Wood.
Gene Wood.
Johnny Olson.
Johnny Olson, yeah.
Andy Russell, who was a singer. This is Warren Stevens, character actor. Ken Toby, who was in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and the original The Thing. My grandfather was a concert pianist, but he also wrote Ruby from the Ruby Gentry story. That's my father. So that's a copy of his music. And like I said, I've got tons of, magazines from the days. There's my dad doing
nice
a commercial for White King or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Way back when. So a lot of old stuff, old magazines where they did when we moved to New York and have all the family photos in them and stuff like that, which is fun.
Do I see a NES over there?
A what?
NES or SNES?
Oh, yeah. My kids got me one of those ones that have all the old games in them.
I love that.
Yeah, we grew up on those things. I had 3 boys, so we went from, 8-bit to 16-bit to 32-bit to 64-bit to the Wii to the we got them all. But then they came up with that little one that has like all the original, like Mario, the original Mario and stuff like that, which is brought back a lot of memories for me because I had to play with the kids.
Do they have a Nintendo Switch?
Yeah.
If they ever want to play Mario Kart with me, I'm down.
Okay. I'll let them know. My youngest son is out in Coachella Valley. He did Coachella, and he's going to come by tomorrow on his way back to Los Angeles. That's where he lives. And
I haven't played Mario Kart with anybody really. I'm trying to find people to play Mario Kart.
There you go. I know that one of his roommates works for Facebook, and another one works at a IT for a recording studio. Oh. And they're always playing games. It's so funny because I used to listen to my kids. They're playing like at 11 o'clock at night with people in Japan and Germany and stuff like that. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I actually went to Super Mario Nintendo World at Universal Studios back in December.
So, nice. I when it got to the 3D stuff, I was out. I preferred the old school, like I said, the old
and no virtual stuff, please.
Yeah.
Danny.
Well, I think my all-time favorite Tom Kennedy moment, it has to be the France moment on Passport Plus.
And again, I've got the whole clip.
Yeah.
When they showed it on TV, they reduced it. I've got the whole thing. It goes on forever. And the funny thing about Dick Martin is, I don't know if you ever watch him on the show, but most celebrities, when they come, they bring 5 changes of clothes because they're taping 5 shows and they want to make it look like you're there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Dick Martin wears the same for all 5 shows.
On Passport Plus?
Yeah. If you ever look at him, he's wearing the same suit for 5 days. He said, I don't do that. In between shows, he sits behind, he reads a book and he just sits there, like does the show, then gone. But yeah, that one was funny. There was another one, I think it was when the pronunciation of poinsettia or poinsettia. And I was actually at that one when it was recording. And I can't remember what the thing was about, but I think it was just they were trying to figure out, well, how is it pronounced? Is it poinsettia or is it poinsettia? And they actually brought the dictionary out and I guess finally read the definition on the air. And so it must have been around Christmas, but obviously it been a couple months before Christmas because that's when they did the recordings.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite blooper of any of the hosts that have been in your family?
Well, the one that is so a long time, I want to think it's either I've Got a Secret or To Tell the Truth. And I don't know if you've ever seen it. So Bill Cullen is on the panel and they're questioning the person.
That might be either one. Go ahead.
It's the one with the parakeet.
That was To Tell the Truth. That was To Tell the Truth.
All right, so To Tell the Truth. And basically my uncle says, I have to recuse myself because I saw this man in the restroom. He says, well, just because you saw him in the restroom, you shouldn't have to disqualify yourself. And he said, well, he had his bird in his hand. and they go to commercial and they come back and they're still cracking up. I can't. And then I saw one just recently, I want to say on TV, maybe a couple of days ago, one of the newer, Gary Moore, I think it was either Orson Bean or Alan Alda was on it, and Peggy Cass.
Yeah, that's truth.
And he made some kind of reference about a bird again, and it's like you could tell they were talking. They were thinking about 30 years before when they did that. That is something that was funny to watch and funny to watch over again. Other than that, I can't really think. Again, it was fun working on Beat the Clock because I was kind of a judge too. I'd have to help Monty Hall when they were doing something. There was straw paper or something like that, and he couldn't always see how many people or this person, how many ping pong balls he got here. If it was his ball that went over there, their ball went over there. So I was always on the floor helping out, and that was fun. I wish it would have gone longer, but Monty Hall was not the host for Beat the Clock. He hated doing the show, and my dad having to be the announcer on a show that he did previous to Monty Hall kept telling Frank Wayne, just put me in the driver's seat. We'll make it work. But the contract with CBS had Monty Hall under contract and he wasn't doing anything. So CBS went to Goodson Todd, said, give us a show for Monty Hall to do. We're paying him to do nothing, and we'd rather pay him to do something. And they said, okay, well, we'll revise Beat the Clock. And again, Monty Hall hated the fact that we used food in some of the stunts, and stuff like that, because he was very conservative person when it comes to food and didn't want to see anything wasted. So he didn't like that show. But I can't imagine doing stunts without using food once in a while.
Yeah.
Like the Double Dare and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Double Dare had a lot of food stuff.
Yeah. I'll be right back in a few minutes, but I'm gonna have Danny ask these questions I put down for him.
Okay. So besides the guys who are in your family, you got to meet pretty much most of the big hosts from the 70s and 80s, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Gene Rayburn.
Gene Rayburn was a friend of the family. Again, he lived in New York, and there were plenty of times he'd like to stay for a week at my uncle's house because he lived in Oxnard at the time and he loved the beach. He'd come out for that. He'd stay at my dad's house. So Gene Rayburn was on that par, and I'd go to see when I was working at CBS and they were doing Match Game. A lot of times my Uncle Bill was on Match Game. He was on the panel, so I'd go down and visit him when he was doing that when I was working on Beat the Clock. So Gene was aware of us, but he lived in New York all his life.
Mm-hmm.
He was not a California guy. Johnny Olson was a great guy. He was a fun guy. I could bring people that wanted to meet him, and he would stop whatever he was doing, shake their hands, and spend time with them. He was really a genuine guy.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else?
Bill Cullen. He did Match Game a lot. I think Tom Kennedy only did it maybe 1 or 2 weeks.
I think so. My dad did it once. They all did Match Game once or twice. They all worked on each other's shows. My dad didn't do a lot of celebrity shows. Beat the Clock had celebrities on it, but most of the shows my dad did were mostly just contestants. I'll Bet had celebrities. Beat the Clock had celebrities, but other shows now you see it was contestant driven. Concentration was contestant driven, as was Video Village, as was Dotto, as was I'll Bet. I'm not I'll Bet, but Seven Keys was contestant driven. Tom with Body Language had celebs. You Don't Say, he had celebs. So that was fun too, because when my Uncle Tom was doing You Don't Say, that's when they had moved to Toluca Lake, and again, not far from where we lived in Encino. And the weekend would come and I'd stay at my cousin's house. They had a pool. We had a pool. We were always in the pool. But usually at the end of the week, my Uncle Jim would invite the celebs over to his house, and they'd, have cocktails, and my aunt would play piano, and they'd catch up. So a lot of times I'd be there after the show, and Richard Deacon, Kay Ballard, Eve Arden,
oh, wow.
all the people that were on the show would be going through my uncle's house, at the end of the week. So
that had been wonderful.
We're just walking around our bathing suits, swimming and stuff like that. So It was not a big deal.
That's funny.
It was normal. It was normal. You know, it wasn't a crazy. It wasn't a weird part of my life. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to CBS. It was, that's where you go.
Yeah,
Mhm.
have a great time.
Yeah.
Now, do you have a favorite game show of all time? And feel free to pick more than one if it's too hard to pin just one. Because
Oh gosh, I have to admit when it was probably the mid '90s, and my father and I. This is when I was living in Las Vegas. My father, I think, was over at the house, and we were watching Regis Philbin, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
oh, okay.
And we actually thought that show would have lasted a lot longer had they not just saturated.
Yeah.
I mean, they were playing it all the time. Stretch it out, make them want to come back. You know,
Yes.
I thought that was a good Q&A and a guessing show. It really, I thought it was, and then to have those three, you know, call a friend or 50-50, you know, it had that little twist. And I think was that like one of the first shows that was $1 million?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Also prime time, I think, as well.
Yeah.
It started the whole $1 million craze because after that, then came Greed, then came a 21 revival hosted by Maury Povich, and then a few other shows.
No deal.
So I thought now if I had to pick my favorite show that my father did, I would say I like his version of Concentration. And I like his version of Beat the Clock. So it's between those two. My uncle, I would have to say, I liked You Don't Say, and I pray and hope. I pray and hope that I know that Paramount bought Desilu, and Desilu kept everything. So those episodes of Now You See It are in a vault somewhere, and I hope that somebody will find them and digitize them and put them back on the air, because that I thought was a great show. It was a great show. I like that one. And Uncle Bill, I probably would go with. I like the Blockbusters was kind of neat because it reminded me of a game we played when we were kids. There was a game that we would do that where you short this way or this way and try to get across. I like Blockbusters. I didn't like it when he did. I think it was Love Connection or something like that. I thought that's not a game show, and my uncle doesn't belong on it. But that got him out here from New York, because that was one of the first shows he did when he moved to California. And I like the idea that they moved to California. We would start to visit them. They had a nice house up on Mulholland. They had a pool as well, and we'd go there. And it was nice having all the family on the West Coast. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm. And Love Connection was reality, so
yeah,
like those love type shows, like
and
speaking of Millionaire, like every time I see my grandparents watching Games Network, is mostly Millionaire all the time, which is
and shows that at 11 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Danny?
But about Millionaire real quick now. They did, one of their big mistake was they did too much of it back in the original run, in the original series. And now they've brought it back, and now they're doing it with celebrities. And but I predict they're still gonna bring it back every summer, and just give it about 4 or 5 years, and a Regis Philbin AI robot will be the host. So that'll be I'm looking forward to that.
Well, and again, I remember, this is how far back I go. There was a time when Regis Philbin was the sidekick of Joey Bishop when Joey Bishop had a talk show. That's how I remember Regis Philbin growing up. Steve Allen did the Tonight Show, and Gene Rayburn, I believe, was either the band leader for Steve Allen or in the band, as was Doc Severinsen. And then Doc Severinsen became Johnny Carson's band leader. All those guys, came out of other things. My dad came out of, again, Space Patrol, live commercials, Life with Elizabeth, and decided to make the plunge to be a game show host. But nowadays, they take anybody that is an actor or this or that and turn them into a game show host. And some of them, I just, like the new Hollywood Squares, I'll be honest with you, it's just too much yelling. It's like all they're doing is yelling and screaming. It's like, oh my God, you got the job. Shut up.
Haven't seen the new Tic-Tac-Toe?
I have not, but it just started, right? So
it started on Monday, and Wink died on Tuesday.
Yeah. Now, is that Brooke doing that?
Yeah, yes, Brooke Burns from the chat.
I saw Brooke on Masterminds.
Yes.
Masterminds was a great show, to be honest.
She's really an attractive woman, and I think her composure to me as a hostess is what I think game show should be about. It's not about me, the host, and she's very on Masterminds anyway. Arms are down. She'll kind of do this and this or something like that. And again, the one that I hated was when Match came back with what's his name as the host, and it just seems like
Alec Baldwin.
Everybody was just drunk, and it's like, what's the worst word I can use to get away with? It was just it was a roast. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was not about the game anymore. It was about the people on it, and
they're bringing it back in Canada.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Like all those guys, I'm sure would say Wink, Bob Eubanks, Gene Rayburn,
Parker.
All those guys would say it's about the game. It's not about me. If celebrities on, it's not about celebrities. It's about the game. People want to play the game along with you. And if all you're going to do there is be a comedian and entertain, they're not involved in the game.
I think Barker said it was about the audience.
Yeah, well, for his, it was. But
yeah.
Even that, as you know, even the audience was pre-screened as the original one when Bob Barker was doing it. Frank Wayne's son, Phil Wayne, would walk through the crowd and just kind of talk to people. And there were a couple people with him. And if somebody had a weird outfit on, or I love Bob Barker, but had a bubbly personality, they would make little notes. And then what they would do is, based on their notes, they knew who they were going to pick. And they would, when the audiences sat down, they would say, okay, remember that Gail gal? Where is she now?
Yeah.
Oh, she's back there on the left. So, hey, Paul, or in this case, it was, what's his name? Paul, not Paul Alter, but the other guy that did the directing. And they they're going to be in the back left. So when Johnny says, come on down, scan over here, but know that zoom, boom, right there they are, because they knew where everybody was in the audience.
When I was in the audience 9, like in the with the person at the Price is Right, interview with the contestants, there's someone writing notes down, like with key words.
Yes.
So.
Well, they wanted to make sure they got people up there that were bubbly, that were,
had personality.
Exactly, had person. They wanted somebody. Oh, thanks, Bob.
You ever see that Family Guy cutaway where they say you're more out of place than Prince was on The Price is Right?
Oh man!
And
Family Guy has some great.
And they got Bob Barker to come in for this recording, I believe, and they said, "Okay, Prince, what do you bid on the Baker's Rack?"
Yeah.
What? $350.
Why
okay. 300, and the price is $350, and Prince is like, "Yay!"
Why was that, Danny?
Have you ever seen the Simpsons Halloween special? When
one of them,
when Bart is doing a chant in the graveyard of their cat, trying to get their cat to resurrection, and they're saying Cullen, Trebek, Narz. He's saying game show host's name is part of the thing to get him right. I thought that was great. I get to hear my name every they didn't say Kennedy, but it was like Rayburn, Trebek, Narz, Cullen. And the cat would resurrect from the grave.
Did you have like any idols outside of your family growing up?
Idols?
Or, people you looked up to in show business or whatever.
I guess I had a lucky childhood. When my dad worked at KTLI doing 7 Keys, I would go there. I don't know if you guys grew up or probably different. In LA, we had like Sheriff John. I didn't know if you have an equivalent of Sheriff John, but Sheriff John was a guy that dressed up in a sheriff's outfit and did cartoons and stuff like that, and did birthdays and stuff like that. There was Engineer Bill. There was Bozo the Clown or Chucko the Clown or something like that. And they all did live shows for kids, and being able to go and watch those shows and see these people in person instead of on TV, it was, again, because you grew up in that. I find it difficult now to relate to people in the business because they're so elusive and stuff. where my feeling is, if you think I'm a stalker, you don't know who I am. I'm just trying to be a friendly guy and say, hey, how's it going? I grew up in this business, so to me, you're no special than my sixth grade history teacher, you know. And I find that is enjoyable too. This last year, I rekindled my art teacher from high school. He's now 85 years old. He still lives in the same house he lived in when I was in high school. I really looked up to him because he was a really good guy. I did some art projects and he was really helpful in it. And I just found out he's still living in the same house. We've gone out to lunch twice now. And he still does art exhibits and stuff like that. He said, let me know the next time you're doing an exhibit. He's 85. All his friends have died. He said, Dave, I got maybe one friend left. And I said, well, I'm glad we reconnected because I want you to know I'm just 20 minutes down the road. And I'd love to have these lunches. Same thing with my geography teacher. My geography teacher started a surf organization in Southern California that was really big. He was, he taught surf at Long Beach State University. In California, those kind of things happen. I got a hold of him. He lives out in the desert now, but I haven't talked to him. When I was a senior in high school, I think is when the Ontario Motor Speedway opened up.
What year was that?
He invited me to go to the first Ontario Motor Speedway race. So it was like the grand opening of the, and then later on, that's where they called it Cal Jam. Dick Clark put on a concert there, and I ended up going there. But I connected with him about 6 months ago, talked to him on the phone. I don't know if I'll ever see him again, but it was so nice to talk to these teachers that I say, at least to those two teachers, how much they influenced me and how much they made me try to do things. So I consider myself a people person. So I get upset, like I'm doing central casting now, and I've been up at Universal about 4 days in a row. They're doing a new show called The Burbs, based on the motion picture with Tom Hanks, and it's up on the cul-de-sac in Universal Studios where the Munsters house is, and where Father Knows Best, or not Father, Bachelor Father, and Leave It to Beaver up on part of the tour, and they block off the whole street, and then I enjoy that stuff, but it's like, make sure when you go out there, you don't talk to the main players. It's like, who needs it?
I wish I would have known you that you worked at Universal when I went there last December. But
yeah, you went. Where did you go though? You went to
The Price is Right, Make a Wish.
Okay.
That was why I was there.
That's right. So you were in that Glendale location. Yeah.
Yeah. And Universal, great place. But great.
Yeah.
And I really loved the Mario Nintendo World Park. I really loved that. What year did you graduate high school?
72.
How much was the prom tickets?
I don't remember. It wasn't that much.
Probably a lot cheaper than how they would be now.
Yeah, because they're like $100. I didn't go to prom because it was a scam. It was a scam, like Valentine's Day.
When I grew up, you didn't pay to go to Disneyland. You paid for tickets if you went on a ride, but it was free to get in, just like any place. Same thing with Knott's Berry Farm. Knott's Berry Farm did not have a wall built around it. You literally could park across the street, and walk right into Knott's Berry Farm. Back in those days, you paid to go on a ride. You didn't pay to go to the park. Now it's like you pay $130 and maybe you'll get into Disneyland, and you might go on one ride if and wait 3 hours to go on it. It's just not worth it.
And I bet college was very cheap back then too. Going to college. Did you go to college?
I did some college. I didn't do. I did more of a trade thing. I had my real estate broker's license. I was a general contractor, a concrete contractor, and my first class engineer's license, and I went to broadcasting school. So I've done radio, I've done television, but then I thought, the best way to do things is build things and sell them.
There you go.
Cool. The next time I go to LA, or anybody goes to LA.
Oh, let's have lunch or something, man. Let's catch up.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. I was going to ask, what restaurant do you recommend?
It's funny. I go to Eureka because I like their cowboy burger. I go to, CPK because I like their Cobb salad. I once in a while, if I needed a really good steak or something like that, my son on his birthday, maybe we'll go to Fleming's or something like that. I don't know if you have Fleming's out there, but it's more of a high-end steak, but I'll go to Outback. I don't have,
I mostly have, like, when I go to restaurants, I mostly have either mac and cheese or pizza.
Yeah. So mac and cheese, there's a place called Gus's Fried Chicken in Santa Ana. It was world famous in probably Tennessee, and then they have all these other places. Great fried chicken, and they do have mac and cheese or baked beans or coleslaw to go with your chicken. It's a typical fried chicken place. French fries, potato salad, all that stuff. We go there like once a month. Just because.
And Danny over here always gets chicken nuggets at McDonald's.
Yes, I do love chicken.
But are they real chicken?
Well, I'm not sure about that.
Well, maybe this guy might have to say about it.
What the hell are you doing eating fried chicken?
That's not fried chicken. That's just Stephen Ace talking about KFC there. Which
There you go.
I'm not particularly fond of, but it's all right. But I love my chicken McNuggets from McDonald's, I have to say. If
you get good fried chicken, it's really good.
Yeah.
There's something about fried chicken that's done right, and I hate to sound morbid, but the skin, if it's done right, is so good. And then when you open up, it's like if you have a breast or something, and the white meat is just so juicy if it's fried right. And the Gus's is really, it's world famous, even though it's in the worst part of Santa Ana. It's one of those restaurants that just flourished in one of the crappiest parts of town, but everybody goes. It's right away from. It's a block away from the federal court building in Santa Ana, so I'm sure there's a lot of cops that go there eating all the time.
Oh, sure.
So, but it's a good place. I don't eat sushi. I'm not into raw. If I'm going to go out, I want you to cook my meal. I don't want you to bring it out to me raw.
DoorDash.
So I'm pretty open about stuff.
Yeah. Have DoorDash,
Yeah.
Stuff. One last question. Other than game shows, what are your other interests, like sports or whatever the case?
I grew up swimming. All of us, we were all, back in the day, it was called AAU, Amateur Athletic Union. So we grew up, we had a swimming pool in our backyard growing up, and it was just a big square. So we can swim laps. It wasn't a kidney-shaped pool. It was just a big square, swim back and forth. My oldest brother actually ended up playing water polo for Pierce College out in the valley, and he was a lifeguard, I think, for 7 or 8 years. So at Zuma Beach, Santa Monica Beach, Roy Rogers Beach, he was a lifeguard. Again, we all grew up in competitive swimming. We went to a school for swimming, and then they would be competitive, and we'd go to Las Vegas and swim in tournaments, all that kind of stuff. I did enjoy tennis. Again, in California, surfing, obviously, body surfing, board surfing, belly board, anything to do with water skiing. I did enjoy snow skiing. Did not get into football or baseball or basketball.
I'm surprised with the Dodgers.
Yeah, well, I grew up with the Dodgers and the Angels, and again, I walked into a gift shop once when I was a kid, and there was Don Drysdale, and this was obviously in the 60s. But I enjoy watching baseball. I enjoy watching basketball. To me, I was more into water sports and snow skiing. So, and racquetball, I got into that for a little while. Tennis, you had to be outdoors in a big court, and racquetball, you could be indoors. It was a little faster than tennis too, and it was half a court really, and you just.
And I assumed you watched the Olympics last year.
Oh yeah.
You watched the Olympics last year, correct? 2024 Olympics.
Yeah.
Which I really like the basketball part of the Olympics because Steph Curry with that that was crazy.
Yeah.
Steph Curry.
Golden State Warriors they're a good team. They've Steph is a good player, and his brother, and it's weird, his twin brother, right? You see them both, Steph and Steph, right? And so they were playing against each other that one time, and Mom's out there and has
I didn't know that.
Dad had the other jersey on. It was funny.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, where can they find you on social media before we end this?
Me, nothing. I got nothing. I'm just trying to write a book, and I have Facebook. Once in a while I'll print something there. I'll try to send you in the Wink Martindale snippet and anything else I can think of that you might enjoy. And Danny, are you on Messenger as well?
Actually, I think I sent you a request a few days ago, but you feel free to look for it.
Okay, I'll do that. I a lot of times I thought that I can't remember what happened to my Facebook account, but it used to be, I think people can just follow me now, but they don't have to send me a request or something. But I didn't change that. And then once in a while I do get friend requests, but if they're Asian and show pictures of food on the plate, I don't do it.
No, I'm not a robot. I'm a real person.
Yeah, right. Sure. I always look at their photos first, and there's one photo of them taking a picture of sushi on a plate. It's like, there's some guy in a wrap trying to get me to buy something. So I will do that.
We'll figure that out. But that'll be it for this segment. I'll be right back.
Now back to the guy game. Okay, Cliff, for a chance to win 12 hours in a hot tub with our guy game girls, who delivered this pizza?
It's Luigi's Pizzeria!
No trick question. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
Sorry, Clippy.
For fresh baked pizza at home, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
Get him out of here.
Okay, guys, welcome to the weekly baseball rundown. I'm Joey Acacia, your host, followed by Mr. Jester and Chains, Mr. Brandon DeJesus.
What's up, guys?
Mr. Josh Salisbury, Mr. Johnny Garfield, and Mr. Kurt Alamai.
Hey, good evening.
We are going to start out today with our teams, and I'm going to start with the person to my immediate left, Jester and Chains. Let's hear about your Astros. Let's hear about your Rangers.
The Astros seem to be starting to wake up with when they beat the series 2-1 over the Padres, and they swept the Blue Jays. Christian Walker is starting to wake up, as well as Isaac Paredes. Paredes. I'm like happy that they're doing better. The Rangers as well are on top of the West, 14-10. They beat the Athletics 8-5, and then they lost 5-2. So tonight at 9:05, they finished the series.
Okay. Is there anything else you have to add there, Jesse?
That's it.
Okay, now we're going to go to the person. Well, I lost him. I had him and I lost him. Hopefully Josh will be back in a moment. I'm going to go ahead and try and go, and if he comes back, I'll come back to him. Mr. Garfield, we're going to go with you, and if Josh comes back, we'll go back to him. So, Mr.
Okay.
Garfield.
Well, the Dodgers have seen quite a few injuries to their pitching staff. Thankfully, none of them is serious. However, they've been able to sustain the form that got them to the World Series and won them last year. So they are doing pretty decent. They are still kind of exuding the form that they had last year. Now, as for my hometown Mariners, they may be just barely above 500, but they're doing their just best job keeping their head above water, even though they're having kind of a Jekyll and Hyde season thus far. They're Dr. Jekyll at home and Mr. Hyde on the road. Still, we're not yet done with the first month of the season, so there's still hope.
That's all you can. That's all you can do. It's 162 games, so you can only hope to get so far. Okay. Josh, now that you're back, I'm going to go to you because I just finished with Jesse and I just finished with Mr. Garfield. So, Josh, let's hear about your Cubbies.
Okay, well, the Cubs have had an interesting start to the year, starting off the season early in Tokyo, which I think was interesting, but it was kind of bad timing the way they did that, because we ended up losing 2 Wrigley home games to accomplish that, and we didn't do particularly well in Japan. But the Cubs are on the upside now. They have won their series last night against the Dodgers at Wrigley. We play Cincinnati starting tomorrow. And I think with the prospects that we have, especially the one player that we have, Pete Crow Armstrong. He's going to have a fantastic year, and I think we're going to see a lot of magical things happen with this team.
Yeah, I believe the Cubs will do something special. I know they smacked the A's early in the season, ruined their home opener, winning by 15 runs. So I have a feeling the Cubs will do something this season. Kurt?
Well, and we're still in first place right now, which we'll see how long that lasts.
It'll be a decent amount of time. I'm going to move on now to Kurt. You're the floor. Go for the Mets.
Well, the Mets have had an amazing week. They've won 7 in a row. So they are on top of the National League East. And in fact, I believe they have the best record in baseball right now. Yep, I'm right. They are at 18-7, which is a 720 winning percentage. Now, a little tempering my enthusiasm a little bit. Through the first 25 games of the year, the Mets have had a team ERA of 2.3, which is pretty amazing and utterly and totally unsustainable. That would be the best earned run average for a team, I think, in Major League history. Most of the other teams in that area were either playing in the 1960s when they had the mound at a better height, which gave the pitchers a decided advantage. So what they're going to need to do right now, the Mets are right around league average in scoring runs. They need to pick that up a little bit. And I think that's going to happen over the next couple of days. They should be getting Jeff McNeil and Francisco Alvarez back from the disabled list. Alvarez will slot back into the catcher position, which Luis Torrens and Hayden Sanger have been doing a pretty good job holding down for now. McNeil, if he can start hitting anywhere close to the way he did a couple of years ago, he would be a great help at the second base position. Luis Angel Acuna has done a pretty good job. Brett Beatty is still not hitting that much, although he finally did hit his first home run earlier this week. Jose Siri had a pretty serious injury, so he's out for a long time. Tyrone Taylor's holding down center field, but he's not hitting much either. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Mets try Acuna in center field for a bit. And the pitching has been spectacular. The bullpen's been great. Edwin Diaz went out yesterday with what looked like a minor injury, but he should be coming back without any problems over the next couple of days. I'm not sure who they're playing over the weekend. They did beat St. Louis and Philadelphia. So let's see who they are playing. Oh, they've got the Nationals in Washington over the weekend. So we'll see how it goes for that. But right now, they're looking pretty good.
Okay. That's great to hear about the Mets. I know Beatty has been struggling a bit. Not as much as Jock Peterson from the Texas Rangers, who got his first hit in 41 plate appearances. Thank God he's not turning into Chris Davis, because that contract, I tell you. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the man to my immediate right. David is here backstage, so I will get to him after Mr. De Jesus.
All right, so the White Sox, the White Sox today, they won a rain-shortened 7-inning game over the Minnesota Twins 3-0, improving to a whopping 6-19. Surprisingly enough, not the worst record in baseball. That belongs to the Colorado Rockies at 4-20. And yes, Lenyn Sosa, Miguel Vargas homered, and they got another one off of a bases-loaded walk. But I don't know. Like, I'm looking at Luis Robert right now, and in this game today, he struck out 3 times, all of them looking. 3 times looking, and he flied out to right, making him 0 for 4. He's batting 138 this season, and he has a 517 OPS. That is not good for someone who I think is going to get dealt at the deadline. But I can tell you right now, like, once that happens, when he's playing for a winning team, I think his passion for the game will come back. But other than that, I think he's completely checked out. And plus, you have Palacios leading off every single day now. Like, what are we doing here, Will Venable? And it's tough. It's just tough seeing this team play. It's a glorified AAA team that we're throwing out there every single day. We got Oakland, or the Athletics, for the next 3 games this weekend.
Whatever you want. I'm not John Fisher. I don't care. That's the one thing. That's the one thing I could never give a damn about is he moved him to Sacramento, wants nothing to do with Sacramento, and now he's afraid to call them the A's. Anything but the A's. Sorry, go ahead.
they'll be playing them this weekend up at Sutter Heath Park, and then we're coming home for Milwaukee and the Astros. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. Maybe Luis Robert will turn it on before the deadline in July, but other than that, I do not have a lot of hope for this team at all.
Okay. We've just passed the 8. We're at the 9-minute mark. We got about 6 more minutes. I'm going to give each one of you 1 point. Well, not 1 point. I'm going to give you guys each a suggestion for your team, and I want to know what you guys feel about it. I'm going to start first with the man below me for the Mets. The Mets are doing great again, but I think more or less it's not their pitching, it's their hitting. Do you think Juan Soto, because he was in the headlines the other day, do you think Juan Soto is bringing too much attention to your team and instead dragging attention away from the other players?
I could see where that might be an issue. He's not doing badly. Right now, he's got a 753 OPS. What's really impressed me is he came in earlier this year and said, I want to win a Gold Glove. His fielding had been known to be a weakness, but he's really been trying to work on it this year. So I suspect that's really playing off well with his team members. The rest of them, we'll see. Pete Alonso's having a great year. Everybody else is just sort of struggling, but it's a long season. Last year, they kind of had the same direction. Lindor has really picked it up this week. So fingers crossed. I think some of the other guys will do the same as well.
Okay. Now I'm going to go to Josh because I know the Cubs, they've been kind of snake-bitten in recent years with the trading off of Baez, Rizzo, and Bryant. I'm going to ask this now. Without those 3 players, do you feel the Cubs would be better or worse off if they didn't trade him away or let him go a couple seasons ago in this current time frame?
Well, I don't think they did. Well, I think they did a massive sell-off where they wanted to get rid of the last of the 2016 dynasty, and I think the problem is their problem right now is they can't really win series yet. I mean, their defense is there, their offense is kind of creeping up there to where they've been competitive the last few games. I'm not saying they haven't, but they're not totally locked in yet. And I think if they would have kept 1 or 2 of those pieces, be it Baez, Rizzo, whoever, they might be a little more locked in because they're struggling at first base. So, it comes to the fact of, should we have kept Anthony Rizzo for another year or 2 and look for another first baseman? Because that seems to be the point where they really have struggled the last couple of games on the defense side of it.
I think having a solid first baseman would have helped a little bit more because I know they've had issues. I'm going to see if David can take over real quick. Because I'm going to go on to Jesse and my topic is, do you think keeping Abreu would have been better or worse for your team, for the Astros? I'll be right back.
I think that they should have kept Abreu. He was pretty good.
The man of the future is here.
David, welcome.
Yeah, okay. So where do we left off here? I'll ask you, Kurt. Where did we left off?
Jesse was talking about the Astros and if Abreu would be any help. Jose Abreu.
Jose Abreu.
Jose Abreu. What do you think about that, Jesse? Did he give you a lot of help?
Well, Jose Abreu he struggled last season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Christian Walker's a great addition. It's just that his hitting right now, his hitting is 202, but he's got 3 home runs so far. He's starting to come into his own. I think Jose Abreu was past his prime, and I think the Astros are gonna do pretty good with Christian Walker. He's a former Gold Glove winner. He's great addition to our defense.
Yeah.
So that's all I gotta say.
All right, Joey.
Thank you for that, David. I'm sorry, I was needed out of the room.
You're good.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go to Johnny, and then I'll go to Brandon. We can go over a little bit. It's fine. But for Johnny, for the most part, this is going to be for both the Dodgers and the Mariners. So I know the Dodgers have succeeded where the Mariners have not by spending money. Do you think the their GM, has spent too much time focusing on the future instead of the present, and that's held the Mariners back from postseason success?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know whether it's tunnel vision on whether Mr. Dipoto thinks that the future is where it is, even where he wants to see the team and, kind of invest in the future rather than the present. I don't know. I could also be down to stingy ownership on the part of the Mariners. I don't know why, but it's also their ownership. John Stanton I don't know. He's not willing to spend as much as the Dodgers will, although I don't see that happening. I don't know.
From the standpoint that you're talking about, though, with Dipoto, I've seen him make a lot of trades. I know he's been doing this a lot. But at what point do you just get a point where your prospects are here, your expectations are here, but the performance of the team has been wavering up and down the last 25 years? I know they've been working very hard to get that there. I know they went to the playoffs. I know they've had some hard luck, but I don't think Dipoto he's not making the point that he should be. That's just the way I feel about it.
Indeed.
Okay, Brandon, this last one is for you. And I'm going to be very nice because I know the White Sox have been hammering you and taking away your happiness. It's not quite the factory of sadness that Cleveland is, I know. But where is the drawing board? I'm not saying going back to it, because I know they've won less than 50 games in the last 2 seasons combined. So in this season and last season combined, where is your measuring stick on where the White Sox should be with every move they've made, regardless of its firing of a manager or Kenny Williams leaving?
I just think the main goal is development in that farm system. We did the Garrett Crochet trade. We got Kyle Teal. We got Braden Montgomery and a bunch of other prospects. And like I mentioned earlier, we're probably going to trade Luis Robert and hopefully get a whole bunch of prospects back. Just continue to improve the farm system. And of course, that doesn't mean that these players are immediately going to come in and make an impact. But that's all I really want is development. And not to mention, you have Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz, 2 of our top pitching prospects. I'm very excited for Noah Schultz. I would love to see him maybe get an August call-up, see how he does in the majors. But I do like a lot of the prospects we got, and we'll see what happens with Colson Montgomery. I know he wasn't very impressive last year in the minors, but with a little more seasoning, I think he will be the shortstop of the future. I like Kyle Teal at catcher if Corey Lee ends up not working out. And I have some hope. I have some hope, especially with a lot of these prospects that we have.
The way I see it, the big picture, and this is coming from a guy who was an A's fan, who went to the last games and everything. And there's another compadre right there, my good friend, Mr. Lima. If you have anything to add, I will go to you in a moment, my friend. I'm currently talking about the White Sox. And yes, I've been very nice to Mr. DeJesus. I see it this way. Chicago has to have their development ready. They got rid of Eloy Jimenez to Baltimore, and they didn't get much in return. Not much at all. Luis Robert has been one of those guys that's been there for a while. He was supposed to be part of that team that La Russa had together. But everyone goes back to La Russa and his DUI and everything. La Russa was the most success they've had recently, besides Rick Renteria, who was the manager of the Cubs at one point. But my function is this. If you're going to have a team that's going to lose 121 games and then go on to lose another 115 this season, get your stuff together, get your prospects, and finish the job instead of continuously tearing down. That's what poor ownership gets you. Mr. Lima, now that you have the floor, I'm going to allow you to do the Red Sox, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. Go right ahead.
All right. Yeah. Sorry I was a little bit late. Rays running a little bit late. We'll talk about the Red Sox here. They had their series against the Rays. They won 2 out of 3 against them. Running into the White Sox. Now, the White Sox have been very tough on Boston inside at their stadium. But this time here at Fenway Park, the Red Sox kind of like did the reverse. The White Sox beat the Red Sox 3 out of 4 in Chicago. Here in Boston, it is basically 3 out of 4 here. And the scores are 10-3, 4-3, 8-4, and 4-2. And then Red Sox has finished up their series with the Mariners. The homestand is complete. And the Red Sox won the first game, but the Mariners have always been a tough team, always contending in the playoffs. Watch out for the Mariners, could be a very sneaky. And the Red Sox are going to go on the road once again against the Guardians in a 3-game series, going to Toronto for the weekend, and then next week from the end of April to May, one against the Blue Jays, and then going back to home to Fenway again to face the Twins and the Rangers, each in a 3-game series, and then going back on the road against the Royals. So, good way to start off. And I look at the standings now. Prior to the Mariners series, Red Sox were a half game out at first, and now they're, because of the 2 losses against the Mariners, are 2 games out, which I was pretty shocked. I didn't think they would be up in second place at this point. I know the season's still young, but the major concern in the series against the Mariners is their hitting. Their offense has been very, very quiet. Swings and misses, many strikeouts. Rafael Devers, batting under 200. I don't know if batting him at second is a good idea. Like you see, you get to pitch. You're avoiding him. You're pitching to Bregman and Story and all them. And I know we had Leon Hendricks back. So he was struggling a little bit, but I think once you get him going, I think he'll be fine. Remember, he hasn't pitched in over 600 some odd days. So
yeah.
So he's a little rusty. So I believe he'll be all right. Once you get him going, it's just a matter of like I said, him getting the flow back. And I'm trying to think of something else that I like I said, season's still young. Jury's still out on a lot of things, and we have Brian Bayo back. That's another thing. Now we got to worry about Lucas Giolito. I don't know if there were rumors about trading Tristan Casas and then moving Rafael Devers to first and give the DH spot to Masataka Yoshida when ready. But we'll see how everything goes, how the Red Sox do, and that's all I got. Basically.
Well, I appreciate your time, and I was talking about this a couple weeks ago because Papelbon decided to use his big mouth again like he did against Harper, and let's put it this way, that didn't work out well for either one of them. Papelbon got released. But he said that, because I'll be nice saying this, I know there's a couple large individuals in this call. When's the last time Papelbon picked up a bat that he didn't get shoved up his prostate area instead of his mouth? Because the second he starts complaining about Devers' weight, Devers starts crushing the ball. So as far as I'm concerned, you want a pitcher to step back in the batter's box and take a fastball to the cranium, it's going to be Papelbon. That's just my opinion. Now, as far as I've heard from everybody in here, hitting has been the problem. But the last thing I have to say about this is, and I know the majority of you have heard about this, but the torpedo bat has not been a bad thing for baseball. It's helped the big guys, it's helped the little guys, and it's not 1987 anymore where all these little guys are still pounding out home runs. The torpedo bat's helping, the ABS will help, and I will get opinions on that next time. But the ABS will help baseball. The torpedo bat, it looks like a bat that David would have to use playing T-ball. But otherwise, I'm grateful for all you guys here coming onto this show and being awesome. You guys did a great job, and I'm happy to be here for this baseball rundown every week. For Boston, for Houston, for Texas, for New York, LA, Seattle.
Houston trash throws.
Cubs. I said that, you little. You just kicked off the air if you make me mad. But for all the baseball teams here, including the little guy above my head, we would love for you to run down the week with us one more time next week. And goodbye from the weekly baseball rundown. Good night, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Tell me what you see here.
Bacon! 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 Chewy, yummy, smoky bacon!
No, it's bacon strips, Brad. Dogs don't know it's not bacon.
It's bacon!
Huh?
You didn't like that commercial, Danny? How dare you? Oh, you're muted.
Hey. I liked the Wink Martindale commercial, but I didn't particularly care for the bacon strips.
How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing okay.
That's good. How about you, Nubba? What's down on your TV?
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's that? What's it?
Billions.
Billions. Yeah, I wish I could have $1 billion right now so I can retire and be done with.
It's a really good show.
And you told me that you liked Seinfeld, correct?
Yeah, I like Seinfeld.
I do too.
You like Seinfeld as well?
I love Seinfeld. Who doesn't love Seinfeld?
Right, yeah. I was watching Seinfeld at work today, as a matter of fact.
Oh,
Why not work?
It's so much harder as an adult. Like, you understand the stupid mundanity of these problems.
Yeah.
If they're imminent.
It was my favorite episode, David. The episode where George goes to Ohio to mess with the guy that he tells him, "You're George. The ocean called. They're running out of shrimp." And then George says to him, "Oh yeah, well the jerk store called. They're running out of you." I actually have a Seinfeld shirt on, as a matter of fact. The human one, that was George's fake charity in one of those episodes.
Oh, cool. My all-time favorite episode would have to be the Jimmy episode where he fucking refers to himself in the third person.
That guy, that Jimmy guy. He was a nut.
Have you seen the Pledge Drive episode?
Yeah,
a couple of times. Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I was watching that the other day. I was just like, my gosh. We need to interview that. We need to interview all the cast.
Larry David. I'd love to interview Larry David.
Yeah. There's you know, as an aspiring animator, like there's a lot of people I would love to work with, you know, actor wise, you know, people you look up to and, you know, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who you like to interview Nicole, if you had the chance to meet interview your favorite celebrity?
It's hard to say. I like people like, do you know who Cree Summers is?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also, yeah, she might be the very best African American voice actress of all time. Actually, she's part Canadian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, gotta love Canada.
And then there's also another person that I'd like to interview is maybe Noel McNeil.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
Oh, we know a guy who interviewed him, actually.
Yeah, I saw that same interview. And then there's also the last person I'd like to interview is, of course, Jeff Sutphin.
Oh yes, from Brain Surge.
Yeah, what about you, Nova?
Well, there's a fuck ton of people I would love to interview, but if I ever get lucky, I would love to interview people like Mandy Patinkin from Homeland. You know, he's a really good, fantastic actor on that show. I also love the Nickelodeon blimp, by the way.
Thanks.
And I would also love to interview people like David Duchovny from X-Files and Californication. And I would also love to interview Michael C. Hall, a.k.a. Dexter Morgan. We all know him as the beloved serial killer.
Yeah.
So many great people. I would love to. You know who else I would love to interview? I would love to interview the ocean voice actors. You know, people from Vancouver who worked on shows like Ed and Eddie, DBZ, Death Note, fucking Hamtaro, all those good. Like they work together on these great projects, and you know they're like heroes to me.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Danny?
Jordy. No, I'm just kidding. Who would I like to interview? There's a lot of people. Larry David.
Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith would be fun to interview, of course.
Yeah.
Brooke Burns from The Chase and Masterminds, and now Tic Tac Go on Gameshow Network.
Yeah, I feel bad for her to host the Tic Tac Toe.
Doing that show, yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad. But,
Oh, I forgot. I would also like to interview Rob Lowe.
Huh.
Yeah, for the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but I also read parts of his memoir. It was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Eric.
Can I think there was one more person that I'd like to bring up in an meeting interviews. I think it was someone. I'm really hoping I'm going to interview Jim Carrey one day because his physical comedy is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to interview George Gregg. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, George Gray. Yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of Jim Carrey, this is funny. So today at work, two of my coworkers were chatting about Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. So naturally, I had to butt into it. I said, "Oh, I like Jeopardy," and then they were talking like, "Hey, isn't it weird that the guy who's hosting it used to be a champion?" And one of them said, "Really? He used to be a contestant?" And I'm like, "Oh my god!" They didn't see my face because it's a cubicle; you can't see what I'm thinking. I'm like, "Oh my god!" And then they were, and then we started talking about The Price is Right, and then one of them said, "Oh yeah, Jim Carrey is good on The Price is Right," and I said, "It's Drew Carey."
You should have told them that I went on the actual set of the show.
Oh yeah.
Fuck! I forgot. There's one. I forgot to name one more person I would like to interview. Lizzie Freeman. She's a wonderful voice actress.
Okay. What about you, Eric? If you had a chance to interview your favorite celebrities, who would you pick?
Oh, that is a tough call. There's a lot of celebrities I want to interview. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. The Rock.
Oh shit. The Rock would be one of them. Dwayne Johnson would be one of them, definitely.
He's great.
Undertaker would be another. The Undertaker would be another. As far as the ladies, as far as wrestling ladies concerned, Toni Storm, Harley Cameron, because she's multi-talented. I would love to interview like Io Sky, Kairi St. Oscar. As far as celebrities go, and Wink Martindale, God rest his soul, I would have loved to interview him. I would love to interview him. Jack Barry, Jim Lang. Peter DeMarkin would be another.
Yeah. Oh, for me, also Bob Eubanks. For me.
Yeah.
I would also. I would go.
For now.
Also, I would have gone. Let's see, actors. Definitely Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Jim Carrey would be another.
Yeah.
Drew Carey. Music, Mariah Carey or Katy Perry.
Mm-hmm.
I know one more. Atticus Schaefer from The Middle. His character hits so close to home for me.
Oh, Atticus Schaefer. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to say Jay Baruchel would be another one.
Yeah, there's lots of celebrities I would love to interview for sure.
Yeah.
I would like to interview the guy who came up with this crazy soap. Let me see the screen.
Yeah, they named that after you, David.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they decided to come up with that name, but I would like to interview someone who decided to come up with that name. Because, no, I wonder if Randy West knows about that.
Yeah.
You guys know who Jay Baruchel is, right?
I think so.
The what?
Jay Baruchel. He's an actor from Canada.
I'm not familiar with Canada.
He was in This Is the End, Tropic Thunder, How to Train Your Dragon, She's Out of My League.
I've heard of How to Train Your Dragon. So that's the only one I've heard out of this.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Well, if you know his voice, he's the voice of Hiccup. Also, hey, Jester.
Chester and James. There you go.
We almost have enough for an impromptu match game.
No, not match game tonight.
Yeah, too
Try
late.
any feud if you had questions. That's up to you. Chelsea, if you were just having this conversation, if you had to pick what celebrities you want to interview, who would that be? If you're unfrozen, Chelsea.
I'm here.
If you had celebrities you wanted to interview, who would that be?
Robert De Niro. You know what I ask him?
What?
I'd ask him why is he such a pussy. I'm kidding.
I would have said that to Howard Stern of COVID.
Howard Stern.
Because for some reason he said some stuff about COVID that I'm not going to repeat on here, but look at it yourselves. But I would say he has an impressive radio, so I'll give him that. Oh, another someone I would like to interview is Jimmy Fallon. I think
Jimmy Fallon, cool.
Yeah, and then David Letterman, both of those guys.
Oh yeah.
And not Jimmy Kimmel.
I'd like to go to LA to see Jimmy Kimmel live or get to talk to him.
Ask him about Mike Lindell.
Yes. Now him too. He'd be fascinating to interview. Just to
talk to him about what he's think of Ryan's request on Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
Eric, have you seen episodes of Ryan's request on Wheel of Fortune? Mr. Nemo?
Huh?
Have you seen Ryan's request on Wheel of Fortune?
Huh?
Have you seen Ryan Secret on Wheel of Fortune?
I had bad luck. Playing that game. Never mind watching it.
Yeah,
I have bad luck playing that game. Never mind watching it.
Wait, Ryan's request on Wheel of Fortune?
Yeah, what? Really?
Wheel of Fortune, I suck at it. Huh?
Wheel is it's easier than Jeopardy.
I don't know how people play Jeopardy. I don't know how people play Jeopardy. Seriously. Jeopardy is like the hardest game show on the planet. Unless if you're on a well, mac and cheese is not a game show, but I think mac and cheese is well.
No, the hardest game show is Deal or No Deal Island. Well, it's the hardest to sit through.
Yeah.
There's by the way, there's this blooper in Price is Right that I keep coming back to. Do you remember the coffee crash in that one episode?
I'm not sure. What was it?
There was like on the train display there was a coffee maker, and as they were bidding, it crashes off screen. And then one of the guys,
I heard about that one.
I've heard about that one. $1, and then the guy next to him laughs out loud and shakes his hand for it.
Yeah, that was funny because I remember they were on the Price is Right. It was on the Price is Right train, and
exactly.
They said, okay, and they go to one of the bids. I think he's like 3,800 or something like that. And all of a sudden, crash. Year crash goes $1. I was like,
one of my favorite moments is George Gregg's treadmill incident. When George Gregg fell on a treadmill.
Oh yeah,
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
Pretty funny,
I might not have seen it.
Oh, let me look it up for you.
But I like when the model crashed the car.
Yes. Poor man.
That happened at least once.
I think that was supposed to be like an April Fool's episode.
Yeah, but that was
when they knocked over the TV.
That was a reenactment because it happened for real before that, but they decided to reenact that for the April Fool's episode.
And how about the guy that was in the showcase where I'm not showcase showdown because that's spinning the wheel, but the showcase itself at the end of the show the guy itself, he bid like $250,000 is what he thought his showcase would be worth.
Yeah.
$200,000.
I think he said like $250,000.
That's like
another Price is Right blooper.
Go on, Eric.
Another Price is Right blooper I like. I totally recall. This was the Barker era. It was back in 1995 or 96 where Secret X was the middle squares were stuck, and him and Roger Dobkowitz had to turn the whole dang thing around and find out where the Secret X was.
Yeah. All right. Let me.
I was like, yeah.
Let me show you, Danny, one of my favorite.
Yeah, go ahead.
Watch this. No more.
Englewood, always up to no good. George, what do we have for Englewood here, George?
Oh, it's going. What?
It's an off-road motorcycle, a new range, and a new treadmill.
Oh.
I've never seen that. Oh my god.
His paper though.
Oh, that's a shame.
125 FB big wheel off-road motorcycle comes with a 125 cc
He's still doing it
transmission
so
and
well
electric
on
starter.
after the film.
And second, this double oven
Shit,
gas
that's
range is
going
equipped with 5 burners, a slow cook function, and an interchangeable cast iron griddle and center grate. And finally,
Look at his face.
this compact treadmill features
And his hair.
heavy-duty rear rollers and
That's
adjustable
a
suspension
professional
system.
right there.
Aspirin not included.
Something Rex
From
Steele's
Avanti
talking about.
Fitness.
Able to.
George Gray, everybody. Giving us all.
You think Rich Fields would do that?
No.
Hell no.
Another favorite Price is Right burger of mine is the guy who cheated on Flip Flop by hitting the damn button, which revealed the correct price. And Bob Barker, who's already towards the end of it, this one, he's like, get him out of here.
That he just walked into the CBS curtain. They're like, "Okay, I'm going home."
Yeah, I'm
and
going
the executive
home.
just told him like, "Get in the piano," because you know what? That's the bigger punishment. How would he find place to put it?
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. It's one of those shows that it has all of the funny moments, not like any other show does.
That's debatable. I mean,
Probably didn't want that piano.
Let me feel that's the second closest, but other than that,
Family Feud with Steve Harvey. They always had the funniest ones ever. They had the cast, both cast members of both cast teams of Jackass on the show.
Yeah,
it's the most insane thing ever. Johnny Knoxville was like, if his team gets the wrong answer, he's absolute a taser. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I just looked something up. I had no idea there was a children's version of Wheel of Fortune.
Oh.
What? Wheel 2000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was Wheel 2000. They had kids versions of the game shows. The Joker's Wild had a kids version back in the day.
If they ever
Joker.
Yeah. If they ever revived Wheel 2000, I bet you that they might as well put that on Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Since CBS and Nickelodeon are owned by Paramount.
Jep, hosted by Bob.
Yeah, Bergen. I don't know. Wheel Fortune.
Mm-hmm. And Jeopardy had kids.
Bring back Wheel. Call it Wheel 25 with John Cena.
Wheel 14.
Bad idea.
John Cena.
Yeah, I know. Well, apparently there's a lot of it would be a good idea for John Cena to host some fifth grader. He's smarter than a fifth grader reboot.
Well,
I've never seen.
Wait, there's a reboot of Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Not anymore. I think.
I think once he retires after this year, once he retires from wrestling after this year, that's what he should do. He'd be a game show host. Dwayne Johnson would make a great game show host too.
Yeah, he would.
John Cena hosted Wipeout 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he did host Wipeout. That was
pretty
funny. That was pretty.
I like the old hosts better.
Yeah, same. Go watch it on Amazon Prime. Danny, you've seen at least one episode of it, right? Of Wipeout.
Of what?
Wipeout the Obstacle Course.
Oh, a long time ago.
Oh. Yeah, I'll I'll show you the best.
Yeah, like MXT.
There was a show similar to Wipeout, but for kids. It was called Splat-A-Lot.
Yeah.
Not sure if you guys.
Oh
remember that.
yes. It was on Nickelodeon at one point. In
Yeah.
fact, one of the defenders on that show, Gildar, is now in AEW as an interviewer. RJ
wow.
City's his real name, but
Wow.
on the show, he's known as Gildar.
Huh.
Yeah.
I gotta check out that show now.
The whole thing's on YouTube, so
Yeah, send it to me on Discord when you can.
yeah. I'll send it to you right now.
Yeah, use Discord, not Skype. But anyway.
Yeah, we love Discord. Actually, they're getting rid of Skype in a few weeks. They might have already gotten it, but Microsoft, they're shutting it down this year. I know that.
That's that really upsets me because I had some nostalgia with using Skype. So
I have PTSD from Skype.
Why?
Because, these fuckers that I still talk to sometimes, Jacob Anderson and James Carroll, when we were in high school, that's all they'd want to do is Skype calls, and they would make me join. Now, Danny, you have to join the calls now, or else we're going to tell the truth.
Oh, yeah, because of that,
Because of what?
a certain female,
Not really because of that, but they were just, dumb high schoolers, and we had nothing else better to do but talk on Skype. And I'm like, well, we don't want to talk on Skype anymore. And they said, okay, Danny, well, we'll talk on Discord. So I couldn't get away from them, and it's really sad.
Yeah, they're gonna move to Discord for real now.
Well, they have, yeah. Although
I'm
I'm trying to tell them, I'm like, why do you guys want a Discord call every day? Like, Discord is for people that, don't really meet up in person or live far away.
Yeah.
But, yeah, whatever.
Chelsea, you used Skype, I think, before, right?
Yeah, a long time ago. I used Skype, and then there was, I don't know if Eric remembers that, Yahoo Messenger.
I also remember MySpace.
Yeah. The Yahoo Messenger, and then there was
MySpace was epic.
I was chanting this year.
I'll be right back.
Yes. Have you David? Have you spread the word on here?
I was gonna have you do it first.
Oh yeah, well I'll do it on a separate stream as well. But who in here has heard about the return of a show that some of you may remember? But let me put the link in, or let me put the thing in the thing in the simulator. Anyway, anybody look at that logo?
Mm-hmm. Yes, the MLcast.
Yes.
Yep.
Who left? Was it? Eric's backstage. Did you remove Eric? Did you exit out, or did somebody remove you by accident, or what happened?
I don't know what happened.
Eric, you there?
Continue talking, Charlie. Yeah, nothing.
Yes. We're gonna have, of course, the release date. Everybody's all quiet. See, this is no offense to anybody in here, but this is why the Hangman Outcast needs to return, because of twerps like y'all, especially you, David, the biggest twerp of them all.
I thought it was Danny.
What the hell did I?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
I meant Sophie C.
Okay.
Like, you're lucky I'm on the bus. Otherwise, I'm going to give you all a motivational speech once I get off the bus, when I have more free reign to talk. So you best be ready, because it's going to be loud, and I would like no interruptions if anybody has any respect. So yeah, we'll get there in a few minutes. Anyway, about like less than 5 minutes. Anyway. Oh, we lost Eric again. Eric must be having technical issues.
Yeah, like you're so I'm sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, on May 14th, the Hangman Outcast will be returning to YouTube. It will be solely run by me. The link will be open panel. Anybody and everyone can come in, friend, foe, and anybody in the middle. If you do come in, you must participate in the conversation one way or another, whether that be in Mr. Beauregard's case, if he throws a pie at himself, or if it's a certain motherfucker who throws a chair across the bed. It doesn't matter. But you will either be be known as a participator or you will be known as a meme because I will make you into a meme. So come in, come on, come on.
And also, sorry, read this.
Be fair and balanced.
Yes.
I don't like
What do
that
you mean
term.
by yeah? Hangman Outcast, speaking of a former co-host, Mr. Beauregard. Yeah, Mr. Beauregard have nothing to worry about if he comes on because he's going to probably throw a pie in his face. So I don't have to worry about that. He still has his merch. David, I am still pissed off at you. You never got your goddamn merch. See this merch. See this. This is going to be. I'm going to make a t-shirt. This is a sexy logo, made by me and some robots. But my friends.
No, but there's better channels you're gonna be watching than that.
like the Hangman Outcast on Chilling3000.
Yeah, in that case, yeah, I'd rather watch Hangman Outcast than that specific news channel. But
and
listen, I'm already watching a great channel right now. It's,
there you go.
FX
Showtime.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Showblade.
Now I will say this though. There is a show. There is a. I have hinted behind the scenes of what is going to happen. Of course, I'm not going to give all the details of what's going to happen in episode 1. But let's say it is going to be the beginning of a arc, a saga, if you will. That will be going in, and that will be starting on episode 1. With further explanation, then I'm about to give my motivational speech. So anybody talk before I start the speech.
Well, go check out the Hangman Outcast Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, I think. Am I right?
Yeah. It's 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for us Central folk, and then you motherfuckers, you're
okay.
Oh, was it this stuff? Oh no, it wasn't. Oh, okay.
The behind the scenes, so it's the life of Charlie. It's right. Wait, Danny, you still?
Eat the cattle. Eat the cattle. I'm LeBron James hairline.
LeBron James is.
It is wonderful.
I hope you guys.
Okay, thank you so much. Anyway, so I'm gonna say this like money and them I didn't have to worry about. I'm gonna say this to everybody watching, everybody in the back. If I get a little loud, I apologize. Sometimes you gotta be a little loud to make a point. Everybody's wondering why the Outcast is returning. I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I'm not anything. And David, if you can't clip this speech and make a video like you do some of the other stuff on your channel, because I want people to hear this that may not want to listen to 2 hours of a stream to get to this point. But I have and David may not say this to anybody, but I will, because I am everybody's friend on here that I know. And that I'm a blunt motherfucker and I'm critical. Now, I know a lot of us are on here to entertain. That is our point. That is our motive, to have fun and entertain. But sometimes you got to walk that thin line. Some can do it, some can't. That's okay. And unfortunately, I thought that's a show like the Hangman Outcast, a show like Saturday Night Live Singers, didn't need to be around anymore because we were okay. We were thriving, which we still are thriving. But let's be honest here, ladies and gentlemen, we are boring. We have gone soft. We have gone stale. Who's in here?
Oh,
Eric, if his issues are there. Anyway, we have gone stale. We have gotten boring. We have gone soft. We have to appease. We appease the masses. We appease politically correctness. We appease the children.
Sorry, I'll play on phone screen and play everybody backstage.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, anybody can say something once I'm done. Anyway,
Okay.
I was smoking a cigarette real quick. David, go ahead. Okay, my bad. Anyway, my first cigarette in a minute because that bus ride was a long one. Anyway, a lot of people have gone soft. A lot of people have gotten boring. A lot of people are afraid to go against the status quo. A lot of people are afraid to talk about anybody. People are afraid of trolls. People are afraid of change. People are afraid of a little chaos. Everything's got to be run of the mill from start to finish. The plan in motion. But let me tell you all a little secret. Remember what one of the most liked parts of this show? It was when David messed up on a match game thing, and he got roasted for 30 minutes. And at that point, and again, nothing but love to David. He wanted to go stick to the plan. Fuck the plan. Everybody was liking what was going on. David, yes, he was getting roasted, but you know what? It was entertaining. Everybody was having fun. It was something that was different. It wasn't the status quo. And this is not a direct shot at David. This is a direct shot at everybody. Because remember in 2020, remember in 2021, yes, some of us were in worse mindsets. We're better now. Imagine if we were in the better mindsets back then, compare doing the same shit. We would be bigger than we are now. The fact is that there's no conversations had. When was the last time somebody talked about the day after Rant Ray podcast about what happened the last night? When was the last time somebody talked about the Popcorn Panel podcast the next day? I'm being fair here, so anybody doesn't think I'm taking direct shots at I'm criticizing everybody for the record. And hello, money. When was the last time? And love to everybody at both of us. When was the last time I see people on streams talk about the last episode of both of us? When was the last time somebody talked about this show or that show or whatever? When was the last time? I could tell you, long ass time ago. Everybody has gotten complacent. When we are the standard bearers of this community, we should be the innovators. And sometimes you may have to go into your bag or sack, depending on your forte, and pull out an old reliable. Maybe make it better. Maybe make it chaotic. And if people say, I'm afraid of trolls, fuck the trolls. Use them to your advantage. What about anybody making videos on you? Let them make videos about you. If I call David 3000 a bitch, no offense, David, but if I call him that, I want him to make a video on me. Because it gets people talking. And sometimes, and again, not all controversy is good controversy, but it is what creates, like as the old saying goes, controversy creates cash. Again, I will reiterate, and I will use money's in here. People talk about what are the two shows that people still to this day that have not been on the air in years. The Hangman Outcast and Saturday Night Live Shenanigans. Why? Because those were shows that kept people talking for good and or bad reasons. Not everything worked on those shows, but a lot of it did. And I feel like after those shows died, a part of the community died with it. Everyone became complacent. Even I became complacent. I'm not going to take myself out of the equation. I became complacent. I became boring. And we'll bring you in a minute, money. And let's see. Okay, Hangman Chain. Okay, fine. I'll use that. Anyway. So this show coming back is not only to shock the system, which is something this community needs, is a good shock. It's going to piss people off. It's going to possibly create warfare between people. But the fact is, one thing that the Hangman Outcast did that not a lot of other shows did was motivate people. The Hangman Outcast was the place to be. Whether if you were being the brunt of the joke or you were there to have fun and create a little controversy, create a little chaos. Not every episode is going to be like that. But I feel like that is what is going to be needed to create that inspiration, create that urge, create that. Hell, I need the show to get my edge back, because I feel like I've gotten soft. And I'm going to use an example, David. I'm sorry about this, but I'm going to say this real quick. I need like that urge, that edge. I like when I obliterated what's his name? The Templar King bitch, Crow Templar, whatever the fuck his name is, thinks he's a god cult leader with a receding hairline, Brian Absher's bigger brother, Leon Calavera. When I obliterated him, like, I was tame. That was the sad part. I was fucking tame when it came to destroying him. Destroyed him so bad that I removed him. Oh my God. That he removed his old channel. I chased him off of his channel. The so-called unbeatable man was beaten. I was Kevin Nash and he was Bill Goldberg. I'm not telling everybody to fucking go after everybody or anything like that. I'm saying to nut up and have an edge. Stand out. Make yourselves entertaining, interesting, what have you. And then hopefully this show will inspire and most importantly, entertain. So yeah, that is my little rant and saying, round of applause, David, motherfucker.
I'm trying to do multiple things at the same time. Tori and Danny, can you host the Hangout Session for a little bit because
yeah, I got 34%, so I'm good. I may have to be. I can probably only be on for like 5 more minutes, or not 5 more minutes, probably like maybe 15, 20 more minutes, somewhere around there.
All right. Hey, Mr. Money, how you doing?
I'm doing good, David, man. What's happening, man? How you doing, man?
Doing good. Is that? Well, I know that is a background behind it, but how do you get your green screen so good?
I don't know. I guess I used to have a green screen, like an actual green screen I was using, but then I stopped using it. I don't know. Honestly, I think it's because of the light. I have a light right here that helps out a little bit. I think that's why. Because sometimes it can, like if I go back a little bit, it's actually working kind of good right now, actually. But yeah.
But that's cool. Emo, you did your pump show earlier today, correct? On your channel? On your Emo Universe channel. You did your plump show earlier today, you said? Or was that when is the next episode of your plump show?
Oh, last Friday. Well, no, last Saturday I uploaded my recent Pump Show episode 6.
Oh, okay. All right.
Eric, do you have your audio fixed now?
Everything's all set.
Okay, cool.
Heard.
Danny, can you help in case of Charlie Beans? Can you take over a little bit?
Yeah, of course we can.
Okay. I'm gonna go. Have a good night, and I'll see you guys next week. Take over before Charlie or Danny.
I'll read you a bedtime story once I'm out here, David. Don't worry.
Are you gonna live? Dang, he better go.
he got to go get his banky and go to bed.
Dang,
Past his bedtime.
I guess I came late, man. But I heard you though. Saying.
Yeah, that was quite the speech.
What are your thoughts on that, Danny? Actually,
you made some good points, and it could be more entertaining. There are some times when it just seems boring, and it just seems like we're doing it just to do it and not to be fun. But
yeah. Eric, did you hear the speech, or were you still having technical issues?
Well, I heard most of the speech. Not a lot of people will agree with you, and we're trying to keep ourselves out of trouble with the internet. We had to be very careful what we say and all that. I know we want to be edgy and all that. Well, not everybody can be like you. And
fair.
And,
I get that.
So, but I try to change things up a little. I'm adding new segments to my show, which I thought would be fun. So I figured, well, I added a new segment to my show called Lima Don't Play That. I get to roast stuff that I don't like. So,
that's good. That's good.
So I try to be careful of what to talk about, what not to talk about. So, and
yeah, I'll say this publicly. I said whenever if I do decide to roast people, which I will, I know where. Like, unlike last time, there were times where I felt like I bit off more than I could chew.
Right.
With this, I know I know the players to roast and not to roast, and not to roast for the sake of roasting, for that reason. By the way, side note, I do love that SummerSlam shirt. By the way, Eric.
Oh, thank you. I bought it off Fanatics. I like the shirt too because.
Oh yeah, that is a cool shirt.
Yeah, thanks. Man.
As soon as I saw the SummerSlam thing and saw the logo, I was like, oh, that takes me back.
Yeah.
Hey, SummerSlam '94, Undertaker versus Undertaker.
Yeah. Now I remember seeing that match. Which one?
I'm getting that Joe Hendry WrestleMania shirt too.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, you got the shirt out already?
Yeah, they got a Joe Hendry WrestleMania shirt out, and it's sold out. I bought it. I bought it Sunday on Fanatics. Haven't gotten it in yet. That's why I'm sure it's getting. It was sold out. I sold out at the end of this week because I read on Joe Hendry's post because he got the shirt, advertising his shirt. And it was sold out. It was sold out. So I
wonder what it looks like. Was it like a meme? Was it like Randy Orton was like a meme in it, or it was just him?
No. It was no. The shirt was. If you watch WrestleMania 41, Joe Hendry appeared. The shirt that he was wearing, that was the shirt that was on sale.
Oh, okay. So the shirt he was wearing. Okay.
The shirt that
Damn,
Joe
you said
Hendry
it's sold out already. Dang.
Yeah, it was sold out. Everybody loves Joe Hendry.
They're going to make a lot of money on him. They're going to make a lot of money on Joe Hendry once they get him, because you know that's their end game is to acquire Joe Hendry from TNA. Just like they're going to, they're like Eric. You heard about the rumors about they're gonna be giving Mariah May a very big offer.
I heard about
that because they have a lot of money. They can go after her if they want to.
Makes sense why Tony Khan is not putting her on TV, and she's been gone for months.
Yeah, I haven't seen her, and now they acting like
Since she lost to Tony Storm, sure. And but if you think about it, that would if Mariah May ends up going to the WWE, where does Mina Shirakawa fit in? Because Mina Shirakawa in real life, she's best friends with Mariah May, and the rumor has it she might sign with AEW. Mina will be, but now with this whole Mariah May situation, where can she go? And because you got women's tag team titles in the WWE, the AEW is yet to have them.
Yeah, and then also with Mina, I think she could. I even think Mina could work in WWE.
I forgot about me in the low key. I forgot about it for a second.
Yeah, if you think about it though, you got Asuka's there, Kairi's there, Io, Julia was there. They all know Mina. It's with Kairi and Julia. They know Mina more because of their time in Stardom. So
outside of Mariah May, I already know who the next person is most likely going to jump ship from AEW to WWE. A guy that's one CM Punk, I think, would back to bring in. Also, the fact that he, to be honest, if I'm being honest, he fits more in WWE with his style than he would with AEW. And that is Danhausen.
Oh damn! I forgot about Danhausen.
I like Danhausen. Him and R-Truth. I can see those two guys. Danhausen and R-Truth. Those two guys could be so entertaining. They could be a tag team.
I think that would be some very funny stuff.
I can do my Danhausen impression. Hey, David to the PT Cruiser. Hell yeah. Yes.
Oh, didn't AEW did they get rid of him? They just stopped. What happened with him at AEW?
Davis, get over here. Davis. He always calls Davis. I don't know why. He's like the Pazuzu character, but he's acting like he's rich though. But in real life, he's going to become a dad, which is I think is really cool. Okay, who's sending me?
I didn't.
I don't necessarily say.
I did. Sorry, I thought my mic was muted. But yeah, I agree with Eric. I didn't even think about Danhausen and Archer. That would actually be hilarious. But like I just think Danhausen would work because he's not, like, let's be honest here, he's not the best wrestler in the world. He's serviceable at best, but what he can do is entertain. And I feel like a character, because I truly believe Tony Khan benched him because of the fact that how close he is with CM Punk. I think the FTR, I think FTR is in the place they're in because it's primarily because of the fact that I think they just don't want to go back to WWE because of how they were treated. Even though, to be honest, I think they would be treated better now than they would have been if Vince was still around. But they benched fucking Danhausen because of how outspoken he's been about Punk. Like, so just look.
Oh, he probably will be coming. Malachi came earlier, or Alistair came back today.
Yeah.
So he might be.
Yeah, and so like Danhausen and Mariah May could be two that I could see being the next round of guys that would come in because of the fact that, with Mariah, she has the sex appeal, the charisma, and she's damn good in the ring. Fucking Danhausen has the entertainment and the markability. You know how many masks, you know how many fucking shirts they could sell off of him. And then, you have, I don't know who else would jump in. If Keith Lee was healthy enough, I could see him going back to WWE. But with his health, I think that's... He's had a lot of health issues. Yeah, he's had a lot of health issues. Like the main people I see that are going to probably stay with AEW. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, we just saw Aleister Black come back to the WWE. In fact, he came back tonight on SmackDown.
Yeah, he took the Miz out.
Yeah. And
that was
Alistair's
funny.
supposed to have his
Like,
first.
Miz like, who the hell? Oh, kicks you in the, and he kicked him and Miz fell backwards. I'm like, yes. I was laughing so hard. It was off the heels of his wife winning me.
Hey, I'm gonna head to
It
bed.
was
for
right
now.
after
I'll see y'all later.
Okay.
All right, man. You have a good night.
Peace out, man.
Well, yeah, and also, yeah, shout out to Zelina Vega. I am happy for her that she's finally won.
Oh.
Like, will it mean anything? I don't know, because let's be honest, Chelsea Green became the first women's U.S. champion, and they did fuck all with her, which is a crying shame.
True.
Like, yeah, she was the first women's U.S. title, but was there anything memorable that we could remember, that we could think of, that Chelsea Green did as U.S. champion? Anybody?
Just fighting Mi Chen, really. That's all she was really doing.
Yeah, me Chen.
I did enjoy the match, though. I think Chelsea did a good job in that match against Zelina. I think she did really well.
And Zelina's reaction of winning, it was like a just genuine shock. Like, I think, like, she was literally like, fucking, is this real?
Zelina has worked very hard to reach this point. Zelina has worked very hard to reach this point. Remember, her dad was one of the people that passed away in 9/11.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's true.
So, she
I
worked
wonder
hard,
will
very
they
hard.
bring Chelsea back at her. That's my question. My question is, will Chelsea come back, or will it be somebody new stepping up? That's my question, and we'll just have to wait.
I read on Meechen's Twitter X account that she says she'll face anybody for that title.
Oh, so was Mi Chen coming back again? Because she done tried about 3 or 4 times.
I will say though, regarding the mid-card test for the women, I feel like it's been very underwhelming, but I feel like we're finally getting to a point, at least with the women's Intercontinental title, where it's actually going to mean something, because I feel like Lyra has been a bust as the Intercontinental champion, but I feel like the match, her going up against Becky Lynch, I feel like is going to help elevate that title, because Becky, again, like, Becky's a main star. Like, Bailey could have been like that too, but like I love Bailey, but Bailey has always been the fourth woman in the Horsemen. She's never been like. I just feel like she's there. She's great, but she's never like. It just feels like she's like the one that people don't really talk about much. It's always been Becky, Charlotte, and Sasha.
That's probably what's going to happen, because they're probably. I noticed that they like to make Lyra play that underdog role, and then Becky turning heel on her. So I could totally see Lyra continuing to play underdog to Becky and then overcome her in the end. I could totally see something like that happening.
Yeah, Lyra and Becky. I know Lyra's looked up to Becky for years, but I think it's about time that Lyra will be put to the test as women's Intercontinental champion. This would be going up against Becky is a huge opportunity for her to really step up and level up her game, and so we'll shall see what happens there. I know the women's triple threat match for the women's world title was great. It was totally awesome.
Yes, it was.
Io has made history. She's the first Japanese Joshi female wrestler to win at a WrestleMania. Because if you think about it, the Jumping Bomb Angels were never part of WrestleMania. Now there was Bull Nakano. Now there was Asia Kong at one point.
And Asuka didn't win.
And Asuka did not win either.
Yeah, who should get beat by? I forgot who beat Asuka.
Charlotte Flair.
Charlotte, yeah.
And I think
39,
also Ripley beat her too.
Which I thought was a mistake, because she won the.
Yeah, she won the inaugural Women's Royal Rumble.
Oh, the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, the inaugural Women's Royal Rumble. She should have won the title there. Retain her unbeaten streak.
But yeah, you said the Outcast is coming back, man. You said.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. So it's going to be live.
Let's see.
I'm sorry, guys, I cut off for a minute, but I gotta get going because my girls just got home. So anyway,
all right.
y'all
All right,
take care, guys.
Good night.
All right, you too, man.
Good night, homeboy.
Yeah, we got about 5 minutes left.
Yeah, a little quick. Yeah, Io has made a lot of history. In fact, she's the first Japanese wrestler to ever win a WrestleMania in 27 years. The last person who won from Japan at WrestleMania was Taka Michinoku at WrestleMania 14 when he knocked off Aguila to retain his light heavyweight title, which is really cool.
I remember him. Taka Michinoku. I do remember him. Now with Io, I feel like Io is gonna be kind of like with Liv, like where I feel like she's just gonna hold the belt until Rhea comes back and gets it, because it's just so strange to me how Rhea she just never leaves the world title spot. Like even when she loses, she's still there, and it just makes me feel like she's gonna get it back soon.
Yeah. Io is a great champion, and she's a Grand Slammer, and now it makes it interesting because Roxanne Perez interfered in that matchup against her and Stephanie Vaquer, which I was shocked when she showed up. I was like, oh boy, this is not
Me too. I was shocked too when I seen her show up.
I was like, Julia and Io. We got Io and Roxanne, or Io and Julia. If they're coming up with a draft, I would not be surprised if they'll try to pick from the NXT women. But the NXT women's division is stacked. Even if you will still be stacked, even though if you draft one of them, Roxanne Perez is due to be drafted to the main roster. If she's drafted to Raw, I see her and Io go at it for the women's world title. And I see someone like Zarya would step up in that stead, or Cora Jade, going after. And I gotta tell you, and then I think the big news from WrestleMania, the acquisition of AAA, Lucha Libre.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, they got
Vikingo was at ringside in the seats during the El Grande Americano, aka Chad Gable, and Rey Fenix matchup.
Yeah, he got involved, or he came out too at the end. Vikingo.
They started him and El Grande Americano, aka Chad Gable, started pushing and shoving, which I was like, "Ooh, that's a good way to get introduced AAA to WrestleMania," and I'm telling you right now, I would not be very surprised if see some of those guys come out.
I wonder how soon. I wonder what he's gonna do with him as well. And with Roxanne Perez, I definitely think she's gonna be called up soon too, because they've been using her a lot, even at PLEs. So Roxanne.
Fraxium already made their SmackDown debut tonight.
Yeah, and they beat Angel Garza and
Angel and Berto.
Yeah, so now Fraxium is on there. I kind of feel like they should have went to Raw, because I feel like Raw is lacking a little bit on the tag teams, because like SmackDown has been pretty consistent with their tag teams, right? They got
SmackDown. They just had a great ladder match.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed that ladder match. I enjoyed it. It was good to me. It had some good spots.
Especially the fan handing him his prosthetic leg. Just to use. It was a drawback to the Kevin Nash when he did that to one of the Vachons. I think it was Paul Vachon or Butcher Vachon. Somebody had a prosthetic leg.
Yes, Montez came out with the prosthetic leg. Yes, that's something you don't see every day.
And the fans raising it up, and I was like, that fan's gonna never forget that.
That was so funny. It was. I enjoyed that.
All right, I think we gotta go.
Yeah, I think it's time we wrap it up. Thanks to David Narz for participating in our interview, and thanks to all the guests we had on.
Yeah.
All right, man. Everybody take care tonight. I hope y'all have a good one, guys.
We'll be back with more nonsense on Chilling3000 Hangouts next week. Until the next time, I'm Daniel Lewis saying it's not just letters, it's lingo.
Good night, big balls.
Yep.
See y'all later.